What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I made a few videos recently talking about how to get Masterwork cores, mod components, and other materials that you need in order to improve your weapons and armor. But those methods did rely primarily on having an abundance of legendary shards, which a lot of people unfortunately do not have right now. So maybe you just got the game when Forsaken came out, or you took a long break during year one, but for whatever reason though, you may not have enough legendary shards to do some of those different farming methodologies. So this video is going to be about how to walk before you can run. What are the fastest ways of getting legendary shards? So there's going to be a number of different methods covered during this video. Some are more designed for solo players, others a bit more advanced when it comes to having a fire team or a clan. But let's get started. What are some of the fastest ways of getting legendary shards? So our first stop is actually at our friendly neighborhood spider, and you'll notice that every now and again he does sell legendary shards for Glimmer. So when you're talking about the easiest way of getting legendary shards, you want to check here first and see if he's selling these for 5,000 Glimmer. While you may not have many shards, there's a good chance that you have a bunch of Glimmer, and if you need a handful, this will be a good first place to start. While you're here though, you can also check out his Wanted Bounties, and you'll notice that every single one of these does give you legendary gear for the reward. So you do need to have a number of ghost fragments. If you're running low on those, you can grab those pretty quickly here at the Tangled Shore. Just do some public events or some patrols, and that will give you enough. I'd focus on the ones that are cheaper just to make sure you get more of them. And you'll notice as well that a lot of these are located in the same area. So for instance, this one and this one are both at the EDZ. So your best bet might be to grab all of them for a given planet and then go there and knock all those out. All of these of course are located in lost sectors. If you're not quite sure where the lost sector is, there's tons of videos on YouTube to help you find those pretty quickly. So this will be a great way of getting a lot of legendary gear to give yourselves some much needed shards. So while you're here, buy as many as you can, grab your bounties, and that'll give you a nice head start on getting a good stockpile of legendary shards. So covered these bounties here, but there's other bounties you can get at the tower. So on my character, I do have every bounty that you can get at the tower right now. There's Vanguard bounties, there are Crucible bounties, you have Gambit, you have your clan, and there's also other bounties you can get too from dismantling weapons and armor. And these are going to be great for solo players because you can see here that both of these are scrapper bounties that you get when you dismantle blue or legendary gear, and every now and again you'll get some of these bounties. You'll notice that they do vary with what you have to do. This one here is more associated with Crucible, whereas this one here is a lost sector that you can do. But you'll notice that the rewards for these are pretty significant. This one will give you 5 legendary shards, 1,000 Glimmer, and 10 Nessus planetary materials, whereas this one will give you 5 shards, 5 Crucible tokens, and 1,000 Glimmer. So these have a nice return on the investment. They're usually not too difficult to get done, but they do have a pretty short time window. So as soon as you get one of these when you break down some armor, make sure you do these right away because you're going to get a ton of materials by doing this. Great for solo players, great for anybody. When you're looking at other bounties, I think your best bet is focusing on the Vanguard and the Crucible ones. Gambit, most of these only give you infamy, and the ones that do give you legendary gear, more often than not, they are more time consuming or difficult to do. The objective is tough, and Gambit matches can be pretty long. So these are a last resort. I'd focus on Crucible and Vanguard. Crucible are definitely a lot easier to get done. These are pretty simple. A lot of these you can get done in one match, but there's a good chance it'll only take you 1 or 2 matches to get all of these Crucible bounties done. While they don't give you legendary gear, you'll notice that by getting 5 of these done, which is what he sells, you'll get 25 tokens. That's good enough for one package from Shaxx. You could also get some legendary gear as post-game rewards from Crucible, and if you're really lucky, you'll get a Prime Engram by completing a Crucible match. So I'd focus on these first. Once you get done your spider bounties, move on to Crucible. You'll take 1 or 2 games to get these done. You'll get a package and maybe a drop from the games, and that'll give you a couple shards. From there, the solo players can move on to Vanguard strikes, and this is where you're going to make a good amount of legendary shards, because not only will you get the bounties done, and that'll give you some packages, plus any tokens you get as a post-game reward, but you're also going to have the chest at the very end of the strike, which can give you 1, 2, I've actually even seen 3 legendaries pop out of a strike chest, but you're also going to have a decent chance of getting legendaries to drop during the game. So I think for solo players, this is going to be where you make the most legendary shards. Of course, you want to make sure that you're focusing on Vanguard strikes when it is a player-friendly modifier day. So let's look at what the modifiers are today. If we pull this up, right now it is Arc Singe, Iron, which is not a player-friendly modifier, and Grenadier. So these aren't the best modifiers, but they're definitely not the worst ones. You want to try to focus whenever it's a heavyweight day, and you want to avoid it if you can when it's a glass day. But this here is right in the middle. You could easily power through a lot of these Vanguard strikes, and you're going to get a ton of rewards at the end of each strike. You also will have a decent chance of getting legendaries to drop in-game, and again, if you're lucky, you'll get some prime engrams for your troubles as well. So I say for solo players, the first place you want to go is Spider. You want to buy as many as you can. From there, get done the Wanted Bounties. These are pretty easy to get, and they give you 3 shards for every single one that you get done, plus whatever you get while you're doing this objective. Once you get these done, you want to focus on your bounties that you pick up at the tower. My bet would be doing Crucible first, and then focusing on Vanguard. Once you've done all those things, you're going to have a lot of gear that you break down. That'll give you Scrapper Bounties, which are going to give you a lot of shards on top of those that you already did. At that point, you're really left to just either continuing with your Vanguard strikes, or if you want to feel a bit more risky, jumping into Gambit and trying to get some of these more difficult bounties done. I know it goes without saying, but just to reiterate, you're also going to make sure you're taking advantage of all the daily and weekly challenges that you have across the map. So those are going to give you powerful gear, but even if you don't break those down, it's going to give you a chance to break down what you currently have equipped. So those, I think, are the best options for solo players. Now, if you're playing with a fire team and you either have a clan or you consistently have a group that you play with, that does open up your options quite a bit. The focus that you want to have, though, among these things that we already covered, is looking at either Nightfall strikes. So take a look at the Nightfall strikes. A lot of these, if you make sure that your 5 of Swords modifier card is made player friendly, you can fly through a lot of these really quickly. So last night I was grinding through Lake of Shadows, for instance, in order to get the kinetic grenade launcher, and we had Heavyweight and Solar Singe as our modifiers. So that bumps down the score quite a bit, but it allows you to fly through all of these strikes. And we were getting these done in roughly 7 minutes. So in 20 or 30 minutes, you can get done 2 or 3 Nightfalls. Now, that's important because not only are you going to get the rewards from the chest at the very end, but you're also going to get 10 Vanguard tokens every single time you beat these. So every 2 Nightfalls is going to give you a package from Zavala. So if you have a clan or a fire team, then you can bump up your farming methodologies even a bit more and farm Nightfalls. So not only will you get a lot of shards, but you'll also have a good chance of getting some of the Nightfall loot that is only associated with that particular strike. So this will be the next level up for people trying to get a lot of legendary shards. Last but not least, and this is probably the fastest way of getting legendary shards, but the most difficult to set up, is using Escalation Protocol. So of course that is the unique activity found on Mars, and this is something that you want to have 5 or 6 people to do. So the best case scenario is you head here with your fire team of 3, you've run into an instance where there's already 2 or 3 people there. Either they invite people to their group or you go at it with just 5 people. But once you get a nice group at Escalation Protocol, you can easily farm the level 7 boss. Now, you're going to get a lot of engrams just from doing the activity because there's so many yellow and orange bar enemies. You'll get prime engrams, you'll get legendary engrams, but you're also going to get every now and again drops from the boss. And even better than that in some cases is the amount of shaders that you'll get by doing that. So right now on my character I have 70 of these 0 shaders. These are the shaders that you get from Escalation Protocol. And I got these during a stream that I did the other night. Every single time that you beat level 7, you're going to get between 3 and 5 shaders. And every single time I break down one of these shaders, it's giving me 1 legendary shard. So again, this method is probably the fastest way of getting legendary shards because of the ways that you're getting them, but it is a bit more difficult to set up. So if you're a solo player, it's still a possibility to do this. You just have to get more lucky to run into an instance where there's already people there doing it. And again, the more people you have, the faster you can fly through all the waves in Escalation Protocol. Last but not least, as I'm here deleting these shaders, you want to make sure that if you do have a lot of shaders either in your vault or on your character, that you're looking at breaking those down. You saw that these did break down into legendary shards. Some of these other ones, though, will break down into bright dust, but there's quite a bit that do break down into legendary shards. So I'm looking here at my inventory. For instance, I know that these War Cult endgame, they do break down into shards as well. So don't sleep on any shaders that you may have, because a lot of these do break down into shards, and that's a nice way of bumping up your total even more. So if you do these things, I would hold off on spending any legendary shards unless you're absolutely needing to upgrade your gear. But if you can hold off for a couple days, a week or two, then that'll allow you to bump up your total, maybe not to this amount, but maybe into the 200, 300, 400 range, and that'll give you the flexibility that you need to do some of the more advanced farming when it comes to exchanging these for simulation seeds and other planetary materials to bump up your stockpile of Masterwork cores, mod components, and other things to improve your weapons and armor. So hopefully this video was more helpful for new players or people who took time off. I do want to make sure I'm trying to help out as many players as I can. So let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Let me know if there's other methods that you're using to bump up your legendary shard total. Most importantly though, thanks for watching. We'll catch up soon, and best of luck bumping up your material count. Talk to you guys later.